One day, a young man entered a secondhand store, bought a simple doll or toy, and took it home, attaching it to a tree because that is how this doll is played with. You hang it, hit it, and candies fall from it. But what should have been a moment of fun turned into a nightmare. With one strike, his entire life was turned upside down. A curse had been unleashed, one so dark it could destroy his family. A terrifying, mysterious story you've never heard before. Stay until the end, you won't regret it. So don't forget to hit the like button, my friend, and leave a comment. Let's start today's episode. Peace be upon you. I am Ahmed with another thrilling episode from Your Stories. Got a story you want the world to hear? Send it over to me on Instagram. The link is right there on your screen, and make sure you subscribe to my second channel. We're growing it together, and once it's ready, I'll be releasing some insane stories you definitely don't want to miss. For now, you'll find epic 1-hour compilations over there, episodes you may or may not have watched before. The link's down below in the description and the pinned comment. The first story is from Tariq al-Kathiri from Yemen, specifically from Hadramaut. Tariq says, I am 33 years old and live in a town called Hara in Hadramaut. About 3 years ago, one of my neighbor's relatives passed away, the eldest uncle of their family. My neighbor came to me asking if I could drive him to the city of Azan. That meant a 7-hour journey from our town, Hara, all the way to Azan. But he was my neighbor, and with his family and women by his side, I knew I had to answer his call, so I told him, consider it done. And just as the afternoon prayer was called, our journey began. I reached my neighbor's relative's house and they welcomed me with dinner, but I told him I had to head back home. I had work waiting for me. He was staying there for a few days, but I had no choice but to return alone. Around 11 p.m. I took the road by myself. Passing through one village after another, the highway stretched into the dark with barely a single car crossing my path. And here's the reason why. Normally, travelers on such journeys take the shorter route. A desert road known as Al-Abratak. It saves nearly an hour, sometimes even an hour and a half. But the problem, that road is nothing but endless wilderness. Raw desert land, unlike the path I chose, which winds through villages and towns. So, I took the longer road, but at least it was safe and certain. My car is a bit old, and I just couldn't risk driving through the wild, cutting across that lonely road at night. Eventually, I reached a gas station known as Ajzar Fuel Station. That place was supposed to have a crossroads, one road turning right toward the city of Hara, and another road branching left. Where does it lead? Honestly, I have no idea. Maybe other towns, maybe villages. So the road I needed to take was the one on the right. But somehow, exhausted and distracted, I drifted left instead. Drove for about a kilometer, and then out of nowhere, the car just shut down. The power was gone. Everything went dark. The world around me completely swallowed by darkness. I try to fire up the engine, but it's dead. No electricity, no spark, and here I am, stranded in the middle of nowhere. I scan the horizon. Left, right, nothing. No homes, no people. Just a lonely road connecting two forgotten villages. The realization creeps in. I'm utterly alone. 30 minutes crawl by and not a single car appears. So I told myself, all right, just open the hood or whatever you call the front cover of the car. Pretend you know what you're doing. Maybe, just maybe, you'll figure it out. If not, you can still walk back to the station. It's only 15 minutes on foot. But in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by silence and sand, that 15 minutes could easily turn into an endless hour. The worst part, I had no idea what had happened and no idea how to fix it. Cars drove past one after another, but on a deserted road like this, no one dares to stop. Everyone's too afraid of bandits. Out of the stillness, the sound of dogs broke the silence. Closer, louder, and too many to count. I jumped into the car, slammed the doors shut, and locked everything, bracing myself for the worst. Then, when I glanced to the right, toward where the sound was rising, I noticed it, a low dirt mound running parallel to the road, barely 10 meters away. And for those who don't know what a dirt barrier is, it's simply a raised mound of earth built right beside the road. A long stretch of dirt piled high, running along the roadside. Most of the time, it's made by a farmer, just so that if a car crashes, it won't end up tearing through his fields. Behind that dirt barrier, just though I could literally see black dogs' heads peeking out, staring straight at me. It was as if they were hiding behind that raised ground, watching in complete silence. Their glowing eyes pierced through the darkness, unmoving, aligned from one end of the barrier to the other. Just imagine it. Only their heads visible in the night, glowing eyes fixed on me. I was frantically twisting the key, praying the engine would roar back to life. I couldn't dare look away from the pack of dogs. And then, in that crushing fear, I focused only on their eyes. Suddenly, the window beside me rattled. A man in a yellow vest stood there, knocking on the glass. I didn't feel his presence at all, nor did I see where he came from. But honestly, I felt like it was my last moment on Earth. The fear mixed with that eerie silence was unbearable. He looked like an ordinary man, wearing a long yellow coat, maybe in his 50s. Yet there I was, frozen, staring at him in shock, terrified that he was standing in that place. The man looked at me and said, "Peace be upon you. You need help, right?" I answered, "And peace be upon you. Yes, my car just died and I have no idea what happened to it." He replied, "Come, follow me. I'll take you to a man who fixes cars. Leave the car here. Nothing will happen to it." Then he added in a calm but firm voice, "This place is safe. My entire tribe is here, guarding it. Don't worry. You are in safe hands." And so, the man walked just a few steps ahead of me, then he turned back and said, "Come on, follow me, I'll take you there." I thought to myself, this must be a good man. So I stepped out of the car and followed him. But as I walked, I couldn't help but glance at the barrier beside me, just a few meters away, and not a single sound. I could feel eyes watching us from the distance. Fear crept in, yet I kept following him on foot, heading toward the place he claimed a mechanic was waiting. I asked him his name. He answered, "My name is..." But the moment the word left his mouth, it was like my brain couldn't register it, as if it was slipping through my mind, disappearing into nothing. I asked again, "Sorry, I didn't catch that," and he repeated it, louder, clearer, and still for some reason I couldn't understand. It was just a name, just a simple name. Yet my exhausted mind refused to hold on to it as though it wasn't meant for me to know. I couldn't bring myself to ask him anymore. The awkwardness pressed down on me, so I just followed. 2 meters behind, we kept walking. Forward, always forward. Finally, I broke the silence. "Uncle, do you think the man we're going to will even fix cars this late at night?" But he didn't even turn his head, not a word, just walking. I convinced myself he hadn't heard me, so I asked again, but still, nothing. The man wouldn't answer, and fear struck me. What if he was a bandit or part of a gang? What if he was only distracting me, so they could steal my car? He even admitted his tribe lived in that area, which meant one thing: my car might already be gone. We continued walking, the man and I, and we entered another street, which was a dirt road. At the end of the street, I indeed saw houses and a mosque. So I asked this man and said to him, "May God protect you, sir. Where exactly are we going?" The man said, "That's a mosque in front of us, and behind it is an auto mechanic." Then he fell silent and continued on his way. And so, we finally reached the house. The man looked at me and said, "I'll be waiting right here. Go call the mechanic." I walked barely 4 meters and knocked on the door again and again, but no one answered. Then I turned to the man who brought me here, thinking, maybe the mechanic is asleep. And then I heard a voice from inside the house, and a man opened the door. He said, "Please come in." I said to him, "I'm sorry for disturbing you, but my car broke down on the street a distance from here. And this kind man said you a mechanic and would kindly help me." The mechanic asked, "Do this kind man is wearing a yellow vest, right? Or am I wrong?" I said, "That's him," and looked back. But the man who brought me to this place was literally nowhere to be seen. It was as if he was never there. Of course, he was only 4 meters away from me, and if he had moved, I would have seen him. Even if he was walking, the ground was wide open. There was nowhere to hide, so I should have seen him easily. But the man wasn't there at all. And I told him, "I swear, there was a man who showed me the way to you. He's the one who brought me here, but maybe he left without me noticing." The mechanic replied, "Didn't I tell you? He was wearing this and that with these exact features, right?" I answered, "Yes, exactly. Same clothes, same face. He looked to be around 50 years old." The mechanic looked at me and said, "My friend, it seems your car broke down near the Jaher cemetery." I replied, "Honestly, I have no idea. It's just barren land, and suddenly the power in my car went out." He nodded strangely. I know. Come on, let's go. I'll fix it for you." But what shocked me was, he was driving straight to the exact spot where my car had broken down, without me giving him a single direction. I asked him, What's happening here? How could you describe that man? The way he looked, the way he dressed, without ever seeing him. He was the one who showed me the way, and then he disappeared. When you walked out, you didn't even notice him. And how did you know where my car was when I never told you?" The man whispered, "Because I've used to it. There's a place on this street 350 meters from the graveyard where strangers always arrive for the first time, and their cars every time break down in the same exact spot." Stranger still, every single one of them had the exact same breakdown. Their cars suddenly lost power completely, and every one of them swore they saw the same figure, a strange man in a long yellow coat, guiding them, leading them, until they reached the area near my house, and then he vanished. The strangest part, none of them had ever been here before. They didn't even know who I was. There was always a strange pattern. They appeared at night, lost and confused. Instead of heading toward their right path, they somehow crossed mine, and I would step out to help them with nothing in return, only for the sake of God. The same scene replayed countless times. But the truth is, I never once saw the man himself, nor did I know who he was. The only thing I knew was that my help was given freely, beyond my work, purely for God. This strange man brings desperate people to my house so that I can help them and nothing more. But the truth is, he might not even be human. for more than one reason, and the strangest part? No one knows his name. People before you have asked him, and yes, he does answer, but no one has ever understood what he says. That's the real mystery. Strangely, none of the locals from these nearby villages have ever seen this man. Only lost travelers do. By mistake, they wander into this road, searching for their way. So I told the mechanic, maybe I really am lost. I was only trying to reach the city of Hara, and yet, this was the first time I had ever seen this road in my entire life. Maybe. I truly was lost. Was it fate that my car broke down on this road? Just to show me I was lost? Only God knows. I kept talking with the mechanic as he rushed to fix it, refusing to take any payment, guiding me back to the right path. I didn't touch the brakes until I reached home, literally, and I was left in complete shock. Who was that mysterious man whom no one knows or knows his story? And why does he help people? And where did he disappear to? And what's his relation to the dogs that I'm sure were ready to attack me and for some reason refrained, only watching me from afar? Many questions I don't know the answers to, nor do I even have explanations for them. It's said that many people's cars have indeed broken down at that exact same location, and some of them stopped their cars and help was provided to them, and some were helped by that man who guided them to the mechanic and kept the frightening dogs away. For those wondering how I could possibly get lost while owning a mobile phone, let me tell you this. Up until today, my phone is nothing more than a Nokia 1101. I'm the kind of guy who hates technology. I even watch YouTube on the TV. So if you're asking, how do you browse the internet with a Nokia? Well, that's the mystery. And if you got an explanation, feel free to drop it in the comments. The second story comes from Hammam, an Iraqi who has been living in the US for over 14 years. He says, I'm 28 years old and settled in St. Louis. I'm a US citizen, happily married, and living what seems to be the perfect life. I have a little girl, she's 7 years old now, my only daughter. Back in 2023, when she was just 5, I wanted to surprise her with a special Christmas gift. I bought her a set of toys, and on my way home, I passed by this strange shop in a secondhand store packed with the most random things you can imagine. Literally, you could find anything there. At one point, the police even shut it down after they discovered explosive materials. An actual missile, no joke. The shop reopened later, though it's always at risk of being closed again because of how chaotic and bizarre its stock is. I've always had this strange addiction to secondhand stuff. I love digging around in thrift shops, hunting for hidden treasures. So I walked into this store just to see if I could find anything useful. And then I stumbled upon something that instantly caught my eye. It was a rather large doll made of leather and cotton. The idea was simple. You hang it from a tree and hit it with a stick. A kind of old-fashioned game for kids. They call it a piñata. I'm sure you've seen one somewhere before. Importantly, this toy was well made, but it was obviously used. I saw that its price was just $1, no more. I said I'd take it and hang it on a tree in front of the house and let my daughter and my friend's children play with this lovely toy. I took it and went home. We had a Christmas party and presented the gifts, and my daughter was very happy, so I said I had one last gift for her, and at that moment I actually hung the doll on the tree. Later, I discovered it had a hidden pocket meant for candy, so whenever the doll was struck, the sweets would fall from it. But here's something you need to understand clearly. The doll was white, with faint blonde hair, and the rest of its body was molded to look like bare skin, as if its clothes were made of flesh. Strange looking, yes, but oddly beautiful in its own way. Its color was pale, almost ivory, maybe wheat toned, but closer to white. Keep that color in mind. What happened was, my friend's kids weren't around. They didn't make it in time, mostly because of their parents' schedules. They usually wait until nighttime when they're free and they bring their kids along. So I decided to surprise my daughter with this game for her to have some fun. And when night falls, I refill it with sweets again so they can all play with it. So there we were. I carried my daughter on my shoulders, stepping into the yard with my wife and her, laughter filling the air. My little girl held a wooden stick, eager to smack the doll, while I dodged and weaved, and my wife ran after us. She didn't stop until the doll dangling from the tree got a good hit, and when night fell, I filled it with sweets again so they could continue playing with it. And then the nightmare unfolded. After a few strikes, my daughter hit this toy against the tree. I noticed the color of the doll was almost turning red where she had struck it. I froze, trying to focus, and the color had changed, almost red, even though I was absolutely sure it had been a pale color before. This was just a doll, not a human being, yet somehow hitting it in certain spots made it seem alive. It's just a doll made of leather and stuffed with cotton, nothing more. I grabbed the stick and chose a spot with no trace of red, then struck it with all my strength. To my shock, a red spot slowly began to appear right where I had hit it. It was as if the doll had felt the blow, hurt just like a real person. The story piqued my curiosity, so I told my wife to go inside with our daughter, as we were both baffled and a little scared. What kind of toy changes the spot of a hit? As far as I know, no such toys exist. There's no technology that alters the color of synthetic skin upon impact. Without batteries, at least. It could exist, but only in an advanced, highly sophisticated, and extremely expensive toys. I kept hitting the doll harder, just to see what would happen, almost without realizing it. I slipped into a state of rage, striking the doll with all my might, as if I were fighting something unseen. I lost control completely, and continued hitting it with the wooden stick in my hand, feeling a strangely intense and uncanny sensation. I have no explanation for what happened. And honestly, I don't even know where it all started until what you're about to hear occurred. I was in this bizarre, uncontrollable state of anger. A passerby saw me attacking this game in the strangest and most violent way. He tried to calm me down, but nothing worked. I was completely unaware of myself. The noise, my actions, everything drew a crowd. Neighbors came out, and some even called the police. Why? Because the whole scene was completely bizarre. And there was a hint of something darker and carried undertones of racism. I know it sounds unbelievable, but this is exactly what happened. Listen to the whole story and everything will make sense. When the man tried to calm me down after seeing me striking the doll, I was uncontrollably furious. I kept hitting it relentlessly. My rage was uncontrollable and I kept hitting. People gathered around, bewildered, unable to understand exactly what I was doing. All they could see was me relentlessly attacking a black doll. A doll with dark skin. I struck it with such force that no one could make me stop. It was a scene that made anyone on the street see one simple truth. I was hitting the doll because it was black and I'm white. That alone made people jump to the harshest conclusions. Things got so heated that had the police not arrived, the situation could have blown up. People were angry. Some even started insulting me, calling me racist. The police, without any discussion, cuffed me. I was still in a strange state of rage and couldn't control myself. At that time, I was imprisoned for 7 days on charges of racism and such, and these were still just allegations because the toy was basically designed to be hit. During these 7 days, I was explaining to the police that I had no problem with racism in the first place. My neighbors were black, and I had a very, very good relationship with them. And after proving all this to the police, they went and questioned my closest neighbors, asking if I ever had problems with them. Their testimony was clear. I was a good neighbor, well-mannered, and respectful, but only those closest neighbors were asked. 7 long days later, after being locked up with no evidence against me, I was finally released because nothing proved I was racist. But the real nightmare was that the entire neighborhood began to see me as a racist. Every time someone passed by my house, their stares were filled with pure hatred, like they were ready to take revenge on me for what I had done with the doll. As days went by, they started targeting me. Sometimes my windows would be shattered. Sometimes my car glass smashed. Little by little, I became the most hated man in that neighborhood. This forced me to move to another neighborhood just to escape the misery, protect myself and my family, and keep as far away as possible from that place of danger. But even then, I knew if they ever found out where I'd gone, I could still face harassment and maybe something far worse. That's why I chose the farthest neighborhood I could, and thankfully, life finally settled down again. But what happened at that time? I have literally no idea. The doll was seized by the police for investigation, and the strange thing, my friend, is that it was indeed black in color. I don't mean that the doll's skin is black. No, rather the skin literally resembles that of black-skinned people. So I couldn't prove to the police that the doll was white and blonde. It's just a doll, nothing more. There was no ink inside it, nor was its skin made of special material that changes color depending on the weather or when it's hit. Alright, so how did it become black? What proved to the police that my statement was true, despite its strangeness, was a photo of the doll that my wife took while we were standing next to the doll and my daughter trying to hit it, and indeed, it was white. So, how did it turn black? Some friends told me that this doll is cursed because someone cast a certain spell on it, changing its color to cause problems for you, and indeed, that's what happened. I was thrown in jail on charges of racism, suddenly making enemies among people of color. These problems almost grew out of control, threatening me and my family too. Some even claimed the doll contained strange chemicals that reacted under certain conditions, changing its color, but the police proved them wrong. It was nothing more than an ordinary doll. No ink, no magic, nothing at all. It's just a doll made of synthetic leather and cotton. What happened? I honestly have no explanation. You can try to explain it to us in the comments. But the idea of something changing its color, I think we've seen that, but in reverse. For example, the subscribe button is red, and when you hit it, it turns gray. Maybe I have no idea what color it is, or if it actually changed color. And even the bell button, when hit, turns almost gold in color. And even the like button turns white after hitting it, although it was black. Now, are these colors correct? Try and make sure, because maybe they have become different colors, and change the color of follow button on Instagram from blue to black so you can see my life outside of YouTube. I am Ali Ahmed. Goodbye.